6 p.m. on Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021. I will call this meeting of the Miami Township, Montgomery County Board of Trustees to order. If you are able to stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, I would call that to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Morris,
Here.
Mr. Posey,
Here.
Mr. Culp.
Here.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming together on this meeting, Tuesday, February 2nd. As those who are watching can see, I am not able to be in my home or office. I'm in the car because our internet is down. So therefore, I was not able to stand for the pledge, but I do appreciate the help. Mr. Posey, you have military casualties.
Yes, we have two to report today. The first is Army Staff Sergeant Anthony Bermudez from Dallas, Texas, passed on January 11th, 2021, participating in Operation Spartan Shield. Also, Army Staff Sergeant Timothy Luke Manchester from Austin, Texas, passed on January 20th, 2021, also participating in Operation Spartan Shield.
Thank you, sir. Chief Stegelmeyer, first responder casualties.
Good evening, Board. The following is the first responder casualty list for the period of January 20th to February 2nd, 2021. Officer Byron Shields, United States Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection. End of watch January 20th, 2021. Fire Captain William Mertz, Rancho Santa Fe Fire Protection, California. End of watch January 20th, 2021. Captain Michael D'Angelo Gagarian, Gordon County Sheriff's Office, Georgia. End of watch January 24th, 2021. Fire Captain Eric Segura, Laredo Fire Department, Texas. End of watch January 26th, 2021. Lieutenant Michael Boudier, Hancock County Sheriff's Office, Mississippi. End of watch February 1, 2021. And I'd also like the board to recognize today down in South Florida, the Federal Bureau of Investigation had several agents that were conducting a search warrant down in Sunrise, Florida. During the search warrant, a gunfight ensued in which two federal agents lost their life. I do not have their names at this point in time, but I'd like everybody to remember them in their thoughts and prayers as well.
Thank you, Chief. Prior to asking for a moment of silence, I'd also like to report the untimely and unfortunate passing of Harrison Township trustee Ron Casey right here in Montgomery County. Ron was a servant, public servant, serving as trustee since 2007, but that was probably the least of his dedication and work in our community and to the public. He served for 33 years with the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office and 41 years leading the Harrison Township Fire Department, including the last 14 years as chief. Was very sudden and unexpected. Mr. Casey actually participated in the Harrison Township Board of Trustees meeting last night. So it is with great displeasure that I report that he has passed. And with that, I'd like to ask everyone to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Morris,
Aye.
Mr. Posey,
Aye.
Mr. Culp.
Aye.
We have 3 items of new business. Mr. Hess, you have resolution 9-2021.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is just a housekeeping resolution. It's our annual MOU between Union Center Cemetery Board, the City of Miamisburg, and Miami Township for the responsibilities of running the Hillgrove Union Cemetery Board.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Hess on Resolution 9? Chief Stegelmeyer, you have a motion for liquor permit for Ergo Hotels.
Yes, sir, I do. Good evening, board. Again, in your packet, you have seen the application where I received a transfer request for a D5A and a D6 liquor license from the Cambridge Hospitality LLC, which is doing business as Courtyard Dayton Mall South at 100 Prestigious Place. And they're going to be asking to transfer these two liquor licenses to Ergo Hotels LP at the same address on Prestige Place. The D5A, just to remind the board, is a spirituous liquor for a hotel with 50 or more rooms, and it's for on-premise consumption only, beer, wine, and mixed beverages, and for off-premises and sealed containers until 2:30 a.m. The D6 part of the license is sale of intoxicating liquor on Sunday between the hours of 10 a.m. and midnight. We find no reason to test this permit, and I'd be glad to answer any questions if you may have them.
Any questions for the chief? All right, hearing none. Clay, you have Resolution 10-2021.
Yes, I do. Good evening, board. I have a resolution and an explanation within the packet. I did a cover memo. This is one of the steps in the process that we began discussing in the second half of last year, with the simplification of the cooperative agreements with the Austin Center and Austin Interchange intergovernmental agreements between Springfield, Williamsburg, and the Township. This is the first step in that simplification process, and there'll be a couple of more steps as we go through the summer. It's my understanding right now that the Transportation Improvement District voted and approved this amendment earlier last week, and the city of Miami is hearing it on the first of two readings tonight. So this is just our piece of that four-part puzzle to complete.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for Mr. McCord on Resolution 10-2021? Right, hearing none, I will open the meeting for public comments. Anyone wishing to address the Board of Trustees may use the Zoom feature to raise your hand, and you will be brought into the public meeting where you will be given an opportunity to address the board.
I do not see anyone raising their hand, Mr. President.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. We will close the public comment period and move to consideration of votes of resolutions in motion. I will make a motion to approve Resolution 009-2021, a resolution to authorize the Township Administrator to approve a memorandum of understanding to clarify responsibilities, expectations, and relationships between Hillgrove Union Cemetery Board, the City of Miamisburg, and Miami Township Trustees. Is there a second?
I will second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Morris,
Aye.
Mr. Posey,
Aye.
Mr. Culp,
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve the motion for liquor permit transfer for, I apologize, I don't know that in front of me again. The name of the organization is,
From Almbridge Hospitality to Ergo Hotels.
yes, thank you. Is there a second?
I will second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Morris,
Aye.
Mr. Posey,
Aye.
Mr. Culp,
Aye.
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 010, that's 10-2021, a resolution approving and authorizing the execution and delivery of the Fourth Amendment to a cooperative agreement.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Morris,
Aye.
Mr. Posey,
Aye.
Mr. Culp,
Aye.
We will now move into the public hearing portion of the meeting. I will make a motion to open the public hearing for zoning case 374-05. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Morris,
Aye.
Mr. Posey,
Aye.
Mr. Culp.
Aye.
Zoning case 374-05 is now open. The following will be in the order in which this hearing will proceed. Staff will give a report. The applicant will be given an opportunity for a presentation. All those in favor, proponents of the plan, will give an opportunity to speak. All those opposed, opponents, will be given an opportunity to speak. A time limit of 3 minutes will be placed on each of the speakers. If you come forward to speak, please give your name and address for the record. The board will close the public comment or the public hearing prior to taking any final action. The board will now hear the report of the staff. Mr. Carlson, have the legal requirements for this hearing been met?
They have, board.
Do you have a recommendation from the Miami Township Zoning Board, and would you please review that report at this time?
I do. I would be happy to present a report. Share my screen here. Let's see. Is that coming through okay?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so the only case before you tonight, board, is review of a final development plan for the Arthritis and Osteoporosis Center of Southwest Ohio. That is the name of the group that is looking to construct this building within the Exchange at Spring Valley, within Area A of the Exchange at Spring Valley. This portion of the development is at the very north end of the Exchange at Spring Valley along Ferndown and Marketplace Drive. The Exchange at Spring Valley is a property zone PD5. It is a planned mixed-use development. To give you a brief background on this area within the Exchange at Spring Valley, the applicant requested to the Zoning Commission in the January Zoning Commission meeting to modify the preliminary development plan within the Exchange. The Zoning Commission approved this modification to the preliminary plan. The original preliminary development plan is shown here on screen. The plan previously proposed 2 office buildings, a 4,600 square foot building and a 5,700 square foot building. The applicant was interested in building a single building that is slightly larger, but this request required a modification to the preliminary development plan. Again, the Zoning Commission did approve this request and then went on in the same meeting to hear a request for a final development plan. And the Zoning Commission has made a recommendation on that hearing for a final development plan to this board. So this plan shows the modified preliminary development plan. It is a single medical office building. This is a principal permitted use within the Exchange at Spring Valley. They are now proposing a single 8,400 square foot building. We will get into more details here in a moment, but first, to give you some site perspective, again, this is the north end of the Exchange. This photograph here is shown looking toward where the building pad would be, toward the northeast side. This photo is showing where the existing Roosters expansion parking lot, shown here. This was approved last year. Roosters was experiencing some overflow parking, so they built this expansion lot. So this piece of land here is where the new parking lot for the development would connect in to the existing Roosters parking lot. And this image here is shown from the south side of Area A, looking north to where the existing detention pond on the east side of the property. This detention pond separates the would-be building pad and a neighboring multifamily apartment complex to the east of the property. So again, this 8,500 square foot medical office building, they're proposing roughly 70 parking spaces. The entire site would be accessed by private drives within the Exchange at Spring Valley. So every access point would be off of Marketplace Drive or other internal private roads to the development. The applicant is proposing a pretty substantial landscape plan for the parking field, the border between the building and the properties to the east, and around the building and dumpster enclosure area. Some pretty good screening through this landscape plan, 44 site trees, over 70 shrubs, and 420 roughly decorative grasses and flowers throughout this final development plan. Zoning Commission requested as a stipulation, which we'll get into in a moment, that a parking island be added to the parking field to one, break up the parking field, break up the views across this pretty expansive parking lot, and also to add some trees and greenery to the parking field. You can see that addition here. The Zoning Commission requested that it be added to the center of the western row of parking. As you can see in the Roosters parking lot, there's a parking island in the center of the western parking row. So this is a natural pattern that the Zoning Commission determined would be an adequate addition to the parking field. So they have provided, the applicant has provided updated plans showing this parking addition. The building elevations substantially meet all standards of Article 27. Article 27 is the required architectural guidelines for the Exchange at Spring Valley. 50% brick or stone is required. They're providing 82% brick or stone. 25% window coverage for architectural interest is required. They're providing 31%. The stone base treatment is wrapped around the entirety of the building and all pillars. Pronounced main entry feature has been provided on this plan, and where some ephes is present in the gables, but this is not uncommon within the Exchange of Spring Valley. The lighting plan substantially meets all requirements of Article 7. 6-foot candles is the maximum allowed on site, and the site does not exceed 2.8-foot candles. All lamps are set at 3,000 brightness, so that is a warmer light than some of a more intense light warmth. And light levels at the property line do not exceed 0.5-foot candles. This is particularly important in the east property line, again, where a multifamily residential complex is on the other side of that detention pond. The light will not trickle over to the property line. So the current parking shown on site is 70 parking spaces with this addition of the parking island that would serve the single office building. The code typically requires 3 spaces for each examination or treatment room. Parking, again, they're providing 70 spaces, falls somewhere within that range based on how you interpret what an examination room would be. In this case, if you're looking at beds, and if the building were to truly be maxed out, that 70 parking spaces falls in the upper end of the spectrum, but certainly is reasonable. And the Zoning Commission recommended that this amount of parking be permitted for this development. Pedestrian access is historically encouraged within the Exchange at Spring Valley. The purpose of the planned development is to provide multimodal access to retail and office within the development. The Zoning Commission felt that it was important that an additional pedestrian connection be made from the development to Ferndown Drive. The applicant has provided a plan that shows this updated pedestrian connection. So again, this is a very common feature within the Exchange to allow connections to external sidewalk networks and internal sidewalk networks. And finally, the Zoning Commission did recommend by a 4-0 vote approval of the final development plan with the stipulations to add a parking island and to add a pedestrian connection. Both of those stipulations have since been met by the applicant, and no other stipulations were placed on the approval by the Zoning Commission. So that is all I have, but any questions by the board, I would be happy to discuss the plan further.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Carlson? Is there a representative from the applicant wishing to make a presentation?
I believe we do have several folks with the applicant here tonight. I'll move them over just a moment.
I'll apologize. I cannot on my current screen see anybody coming into the meeting, so I won't be able to address you by name.
Miss Duke is coming over for the applicant.
Hello, this is Jenny Duke. Address is 7945 Washington Woods Drive, Dayton, Ohio 45459. And I believe Mr. Carlson went through everything pretty thoroughly. The biggest thing is I know with the new building layout, they were really looking to get a larger building. This is a very successful medical practice that is busting at the seams of their existing location in Springboro. And they're eager to get this approved and get construction started as soon as possible. But I'd be happy to answer any questions if there's anything that you guys have.
Does anyone have any questions for the applicant? I don't have any questions, but I'd just like to thank you for bringing this project to Miami Township. We're excited to service the needs of a local business and bring them north from Springboro to assist in their expansion. So welcome to the community. Is there anyone wishing to come forward as a proponent of the plan? Anyone in favor of the plan wishing to give testimony before the board?
Do not see anyone raising their hand.
Is there anyone opposed to the plan that would like to come forward and give testimony during this public hearing?
Still do not see anyone raising their hand.
Very good. We will close the public comment period, and I will make a motion to close the public hearing for zoning case 374-05. Is there a second on the motion to close the case?
I'll second.
Any
Mr.
discussion?
Morse. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I had to turn my light on. It's getting dark outside. Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Mr. Morse.
Aye.
Mr. Posey.
Aye.
Mr. Culp.
Aye.
I will make a motion to approve resolution 11-2021, a resolution to approve a final development plan for the area A of the exchange of Spring Valley under zoning case 374-05. Therefore be it resolved, the Miami Township Board of Trustees approves the final development plan under zoning case 374-05 and accepts and adopts the zoning commission recommendation. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Morse.
Aye.
Mr. Posey.
Aye.
Mr. Culp.
Aye.
Are there any department heads wishing to give a presentation or share anything else with the board? Hearing none. Elected official comments. Mr. Newell.
I have none.
Mr. Posey.
Just a brief comment on the community. I think that the last few weeks have seen some more wider adoption or availability of the coronavirus vaccine. I know of a number of people acquiring the vaccine from a variety of sources. I believe even the governor announced this week there will be a larger state website that will enable you to determine where you might sign up for notifications regarding availability. And we'll be encouraging the township staff to disseminate that in the channels in which they disseminate normal modes of communication. And this is going to be one of those things for a while where you sort of have to catch as you can. I have personal examples of people that signed up at Meijer and Discount Drug Mart and the local health agencies and got the first one that they could get. And then the other ones are showing up. So in certain categories of availability, phase 1B, I think it is at the moment, there is starting to be availability out there, and it just requires a little bit of personal diligence to do that. And I hope the township will facilitate communicating those methods as well.
Thank you for sharing that information, Mr. Posey, and I completely agree with you. Governor DeWine has shared Ohio has implemented a rather unique rollout plan. For those of you who listen to the governor's presentations, this is information you've already heard, but for those who don't, you know, a lot of states are requiring long distance travel to get to the vaccine, you know, driving to Dodger Stadium as an example, whereas Ohio has chosen a much wider distribution path, bringing the vaccine to our communities. I'd also like to comment that there's been some press around the soon to be released Johnson & Johnson version of the vaccine, and that its efficacy is only in the mid 60% versus the 80+% of the other two vaccines. I don't want to use that as a discouragement. If you have access to any vaccine, take advantage of it. The regular flu vaccine only has a 60% efficacy rate. So any vaccine that you can get your hands on, please take advantage of that. We want to get as many people vaccinated as possible. The United States is a country that has a good plan in place, and with due diligence, by the end of 2021, we may get 40 to 60% of our residents through this vaccine, those choosing to take it, whereas many countries around the world will see less than 10%. So, Mr. Posey, thank you for that. Mr. Colt, do you have anything?
I do not.
Thank you, sir. I just have one final comment. Again, I appreciate the zoning case and excited to see another new business come into Miami Township. And as part of Mr. Carlson's presentation, he pointed out that expansion Roosters parking lot. I don't know how well Roosters is doing during this pandemic, but if there are restaurateurs watching this, I would reach out to them and figure out what they are doing, because I get takeout from that restaurant and that parking lot is packed and that restaurant is full. So they are doing very good business. And it's a another great story on an expanded business here in Miami Township. So thanks to the staff and everyone for what you do. And with that, we have no work sessions, no executive sessions. I will call for adjournment to this meeting at whatever time it is, 6:26. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Go Flyers.